The American economy is booming, they say. Unemployment is at record lows. The stock market regularly hits new highs. But behind these shiny headlines, a different story is unfolding. A story of families struggling to make ends meet, of parents working 2 jobs, yet still unable to afford basic necessities. The truth is, the American dream is slipping further out of reach for millions of hardworking Americans. Consider this: the median household income has barely budged in decades, while the cost of essentials like healthcare, education, and housing has skyrocketed. This isn't just a statistic. It's the reality for millions of families struggling to keep their heads above water. It's the single mom working double shifts, only to come home to an empty fridge and a stack of unpaid bills. It's the young college graduate drowning in student loan debt, forced to put their dreams on hold. This isn't about laziness or a lack of trying. This is about a system that's rigged against the average American. A system where corporate profits soar while wages stagnate. A system where the rich get richer and everyone else is left scrambling for crumbs. It's time to stop pretending everything is fine. It's time to face the uncomfortable truth. The American economy is broken, and it's breaking the backs of working families. We need to talk about the elephant in the room. We need to acknowledge that the current economic system is failing a vast majority of Americans. We need to have an honest conversation about the growing inequality, the shrinking middle class, and the very real possibility that our children will be worse off than we are. It's time for a change. It's time to rewrite the rules of the economy to work for everyone, not just those at the very top. The cost of living keeps climbing. Rent, groceries, utilities, everything seems to cost more year after year, yet wages remain stubbornly stagnant. This creates a suffocating cycle for working families. They're forced to work longer hours, take on multiple jobs just to keep pace with the rising costs. There's little room for savings, let alone for unexpected expenses. This financial pressure takes a toll. Families are constantly stressed about money, about making ends meet. Parents are forced to make impossible choices between putting food on the table and paying for their child's school supplies. The mental and emotional strain is immense, and it ripples through every aspect of their lives. This isn't just about individuals or individual families, it's about the erosion of the middle class, the backbone of our society. As more and more families struggle financially, it undermines the very fabric of our communities. It leads to increased poverty, social unrest, and a diminished sense of opportunity for future generations. We need to break this cycle. We need to create an economy that works for everyone, not just the wealthy few. This means addressing wage stagnation, ensuring access to affordable healthcare and education, and creating pathways for upward mobility. It's time to level the playing field and give every American a fighting chance to achieve financial security and a brighter future. Ask any American about their biggest financial worries, and healthcare costs are likely to top the list. The United States spends more on healthcare than any other developed nation, yet millions of Americans lack access to basic, affordable care. This is simply unacceptable. The current system is broken. Families are burdened with sky-high premiums, deductibles, and co-pays. A single illness or accident can push them into financial ruin. People are forced to delay or forego necessary medical treatment because they simply can't afford it. This isn't just about dollars and cents, it's about lives. It's about the peace of mind that comes with knowing you and your loved ones can access quality healthcare without risking financial devastation. It's about creating a system that prioritizes the well-being of its citizens, not the profits of insurance companies and pharmaceutical giants. We need to make healthcare a right, not a privilege. This means exploring options like universal healthcare coverage, negotiating lower drug prices, and promoting preventative care. It's time to relieve the crushing burden of healthcare costs and ensure that every American has access to the care they need when they need it. Education is often touted as the key to success, the pathway to a better life. Yet for many Americans, it's become an expensive gamble, one that leaves them saddled with crippling debt. The cost of college has been rising at an alarming rate, far outpacing inflation and wage growth. Students are forced to take on massive loans to finance their education, mortgaging their futures before they've even begun. This leaves them with a mountain of debt that can take decades to repay, delaying homeownership, marriage, and other life milestones. The burden of student loan debt is a major drag on the economy, hindering economic growth and innovation. This isn't just about individual students, it's about the future of our nation. We need a highly educated workforce to compete in the global economy. Yet, the rising cost of education is creating a barrier for many talented individuals, particularly those from low-income backgrounds. We need to make education more affordable and accessible for all Americans. This means addressing the rising cost of tuition, exploring alternative pathways to higher education, and providing more support for students. It's time to invest in our future by making education a priority, not a luxury. Section 5. Housing, a roof overhead, a hole in the pocket. Finding an affordable place to live has become a significant challenge for millions of Americans. The cost of housing, whether renting or buying, has been steadily increasing, particularly in urban areas and cities with strong job markets. This leaves many families struggling to keep a roof over their heads. Renters are faced with skyrocketing rents, often consuming a significant portion of their income. This leaves little left over for other essentials, forcing them to make difficult choices and compromises. Homeownership, once a cornerstone of the American dream, is becoming increasingly out of reach for many, particularly young people and those with lower incomes. The lack of affordable housing has far-reaching consequences. It can lead to increased homelessness, overcrowding, and a decline in the quality of life in communities. It can also exacerbate inequality, as those with fewer resources are often priced out of neighborhoods with better schools, amenities, and job opportunities. We need to address the affordable housing crisis with urgency and compassion. This means increasing the supply of affordable housing units, providing rental assistance to those in need, and implementing policies that promote sustainable and equitable housing development. Everyone deserves a safe, decent, and affordable place to call home. Section 6. The crushing weight of debt. Americans are drowning in debt. Credit card debt, student loan debt, medical debt. The burden is overwhelming for millions of families. This debt creates a vicious cycle, trapping them in a spiral of high interest rates and minimum payments. It robs them of their financial security, their peace of mind, and their ability to build a better future. The rise in consumer debt is a symptom of a larger problem: the growing gap between income and expenses. Wages have stagnated, while the cost of living continues to rise, forcing many families to rely on credit cards and loans just to make ends meet. This creates a precarious financial situation, leaving them vulnerable to economic shocks and unexpected expenses. The consequences of high levels of debt are far-reaching. It can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and depression. It can strain relationships, damage credit scores, and make it difficult to obtain loans for education, housing, or starting a business. It can also trap families in a cycle of poverty, making it difficult to get ahead. We need to address the root causes of the debt crisis and provide relief for those struggling under the weight of overwhelming debt. This means promoting financial literacy, advocating for fair lending practices, and creating pathways for debt forgiveness. It's time to break the chains of debt and empower Americans to achieve financial freedom. Section 7. Automation Nation. Jobs lost, futures uncertain. The nature of work is changing rapidly, driven by technological advancements and automation. While these changes hold the promise of greater efficiency and productivity, they also pose significant challenges for American workers. Millions of jobs are at risk of being automated, potentially displacing workers and exacerbating existing economic anxieties. Manufacturing jobs, once a mainstay of the American middle class, have been steadily declining for decades, often replaced by machines or outsourced to countries with lower labor costs. Now, automation is spreading to other sectors, including transportation, logistics, and even white-collar jobs in finance and customer service. This shift in the job market creates uncertainty and fear for many workers. Those in jobs at high risk of automation face the prospect of unemployment, retraining, and the need to adapt to new skills and industries. This can be a daunting and stressful process, particularly for older workers or those lacking the resources or support to make a career transition. We need to prepare for the future of work and ensure that all Americans have the opportunity to thrive in a changing economy. This means investing in education and training programs, supporting entrepreneurship and small business growth, and exploring policies like universal basic income that can provide a safety net for workers during times of economic disruption. Section 8. The illusion of choice. The American dream often feels like it hinges on making the right choices, working hard, getting a good education, making smart financial decisions. But what happens when the choices themselves are limited, or when the system is rigged against you from the start? For many Americans, the idea of choice feels like an illusion, a cruel joke in the face of systemic inequality and limited opportunities. Take, for example, the choice of where to live. Families want to live in safe neighborhoods with good schools for their children, but these neighborhoods often come with a hefty price tag, one that's out of reach for many working-class families. They're forced to compromise, settling for less desirable areas with fewer resources and opportunities. Or consider the choice of healthcare. No one chooses to get sick, yet millions of Americans are forced to make impossible choices between their health and their financial well-being. They delay or forego necessary medical treatment because they can't afford the exorbitant costs, putting their health at risk. This isn't about making bad choices. It's about the lack of real, meaningful choices available to a significant portion of the population. It's about a system that perpetuates inequality, limiting opportunities and making it harder for people to get ahead, no matter how hard they work. We need to create a society where everyone has a genuine opportunity to succeed, regardless of their background or zip code. This means addressing systemic barriers, promoting economic mobility, and ensuring that all Americans have access to the resources and opportunities they need to thrive. Section 9. The American Dream, Deferred, Dented, or Dead. The American dream, that deeply ingrained belief that anyone, regardless of their background, can achieve success through hard work and determination, is fading for many Americans. The reality is that the rungs on the ladder of opportunity are being pulled up, making it harder for people to climb. The gap between the rich and the poor is widening, and the middle class is shrinking. The cost of living is outpacing wage growth, leaving many families struggling to afford basic necessities. The systems meant to provide support, like healthcare and education, are often too expensive or inaccessible to those who need them most. This isn't just a problem for individuals, it's a threat to the very fabric of our society. When a significant portion of the population feels like the American dream is out of reach, it breeds cynicism, resentment, and social unrest. It undermines the values of hard work, fairness, and opportunity that have long defined our nation. We need to revive the American dream and make it a reality for all Americans. This means creating an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top. It means investing in education, healthcare, and infrastructure. It means restoring fairness and opportunity to a system that has become increasingly rigged against the average American. Section 10. A call to action. We've talked about the challenges, the statistics, the stories of struggle that are becoming all too common in America today. But this isn't a time for despair, it's a time for action. We can't afford to be passive observers in the face of these growing inequalities. We need to raise our voices, demand better from our leaders, and work together to create a more just and equitable society. This isn't a partisan issue, it's a human issue. It's about ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to achieve their full potential, regardless of their background or zip code. It's about creating a society where all Americans have access to quality education, affordable healthcare, decent housing, and a fair shot at a brighter future. There are many ways to get involved. We can contact our elected officials and urge them to prioritize policies that support working families. We can support organizations working to address income inequality, promote economic mobility, and provide a safety net for those in need. We can educate ourselves and others about the issues and engage in respectful dialogue about solutions. We can't afford to wait for someone else to fix this. The time for action is now. Let's work together to create an America where the American dream is within reach for everyone. Section 11. What's your story? The economic struggles facing America's families are real, they are widespread, and they demand our attention. But behind the statistics and the headlines are real people, with real stories, real struggles, and real hopes for a better future. Now I want to hear from you. What's your story? Have you or someone you know been impacted by the shrinking middle class, the rising cost of living, or the growing sense of financial insecurity? What challenges have you faced, and what solutions do you think would make a difference? Share your thoughts, your experiences, your ideas. Let's start a conversation, raise awareness, and work together to create an economy that works for everyone. Your voice matters. Your story deserves to be heard.